Yeah, it just again, what I was just thinking was this, that where she's kind of saying, I was purposely not thinking about this child so that I could make this decision. That just seems, that it's not just abortion. I do that. When I know I'm doing something wrong, I'll choose. Well, I'm not going to think about it, or I'm not going to pray about that issue, kind of a thing, because then I might feel bad about it. And we all do that. Right. And it's just interesting for me to hear her say, this actually would have affected me. So anyway.
Yeah. If I could though, one of the things that makes me think about this is some people just need to be told, hey, that's probably not the best decision to make, and it'll break them out of the zone of okay, I'm just not going to think about it. And you think about the guy that found his wife cheating, and he's emotionally unstable, and we could even justify some of the actions he might take with the emotion, and all it needs is, hey man, look, it's not worth ruining your life because she's screwing up your relationship. You can survive this. Right. You just need someone to step in there and go, don't do those kind of things to break them out of the tunnel vision.
This next clip is one of the most interesting clips out of the entire show, because one of the most common pro-choice kind of sayings, it's not really an argument in itself, but things that will be said maybe alongside other arguments, is that women don't take it lightly. Whoopi Goldberg has said that just before. I didn't play the clip because we did it last time, but that's one of the things that she said. Women don't take it lightly. Now, Joy Behar is one of my least favorite spokespeople that are on TV, but I couldn't believe when she went out and she said this.
No, and I'm saying I don't feel like you should force it on anybody because it is your body. You have to make a choice. You have to deal with whatever consequences come.
Can I make a point here that of people that I know who have had abortions? I haven't had one myself. I had an ectopic pregnancy, which was not my choice. But I know people who've had abortions who don't think twice about it. I mean, this idea that everybody struggles with this, I think, is not necessarily a fact either. People say, I just don't want it, and I'm going to sweep it away, as they say. And they don't see it. I've heard from people, they don't see it as a child. They see it as a bunch of cells.
I've met folks like
that. And they don't want to see the sonogram, particularly because they're not interested. I don't think that it's all one thing.
Right. I don't either.
Okay. I agree with Joy Behar, believe it or not. I believe that
Who knew?
There's a quote for posterity.
No, I don't know what I don't know where we're going with this clip, but when I first hear this clip, I think, yes, Joy Behar is right. Yeah. There are some people that are desensitized. Now, I'm willing to submit that the first abortion they had, they probably didn't take lightly.
Maybe.
But the subsequent ones, they get desensitized to it. And as evidenced by people like Abby Johnson, who say, some women just come in and go, hey, here's the money. I'm just going to go back there and take care of it. And is that in the minority? Yes. Is that a tragedy? Yes. And so I would agree that there's some there. You can't make a hasty generalization.
I've talked to women. I've talked to a woman, and this is a specific case. I don't even know her name. If she told me, I don't remember. It's probably great that I don't remember because I wouldn't want to use it anyways. Had 8 abortions.
Oh my gosh.
Getting ready to have number 9. She was further along. Now she's having a moral, issue with it. So at some point I hate to put lying on the same plane as abortion, but let's face it, anything that we know to be wrong, the more we do it, the easier it becomes.
Right.
Absolutely right.
The issue that I would like to point out, and then I'm sure you've got stuff that you want to say, Josh, so just really
one thing,
fast.
just one little thing.
And I don't know why I just keep sticking to Whoopi Goldberg here, but I don't know anybody like that.
She's being nasty.
I think that this is me putting my thoughts on what she's saying, but from when I gather all the things that she says and put them together, basically what I hear her saying is, abortion's killing, but the mother's life is more important than the baby's.
Right.
That's the point that I hear her making, is that, and that a woman who is being wise knows when it's time to take out the child and knows when it's time to not take out the child. That's a woman's choice, not with her body, but to decide what's best for her child, and that maybe that is, because the mom's life is more important. That's just what I'm gathering from the points that she has said throughout these.
It's hard to speculate where she's coming from, because I hear something different. I hear her saying that the child is not valuable at all. It's not like it's woman here and then I don't see her putting the child even on this other side of the scale of justice.
Some of the things that she was saying in response to Joy about, I don't know women like that, and it was almost like disgust with those women.
Once again, she's dismissing what Joy has said. Joy has said, well, I know women that have taken it lightly, and for me, it sounds to me like Whoopi has, once again, this agenda. She's got talking points straight from Planned Parenthood. Suddenly Joy is,
right.
stomping on that, and she's just trying
she was
to kind
not
of
going to
hold it
give
together.
the ground.
But it just, and we kind of said this last episode, but I'll say it again. If it's not a human being, why not take it lightly? It would if it's
like
if
wisdom
it's not,
teeth
yeah,
or something.
Yeah.
You know?
Does anyone say I'm going to have a mole removed? I'm going to not take that surgery lightly? I mean, no. We'd be like, dude, just have the mole removed. It's okay.
Right, unless you've named it and
yeah,
have psychological issues.
Right. And if that's the case, then you're insane. And so, but
you
no,
could have a reality TV show.
The fact that we're always saying, we're not going to take it lightly, that implies that there is something
deeper.
There's something deeper here.
Yeah,
there's something valuable, and maybe should be.
And honestly, except for maybe a few comments of Whoopi, I have not heard anyone say that this is not a serious decision.
Yeah.
So that's interesting to me.
Clip 7.
And the other thing I would say is that, conservatives who would like to take away Roe v. Wade, they're constantly complaining about Big Brother and big government, and yet when it comes to my and uterus, right there they are.
Right, and that's what I said.
Okay.
Amusing.
Look, I'm going to cite Scott Klusendorf here, who is one of the top pro-life apologists, because I think, and I'm pretty sure he's the one that wrote this, but he had a brilliant response to this. He said, conservatism has never meant that anything goes. Right. He said the most basic tenet of conservatism is that government has a primary responsibility to protect the lives of its citizens.
Right.
Hence, it's disgraceful for abortion advocates to suggest that freedom from government means that government looks the other way while one human being kills another.
Right.
Well, right.
In the words of Thomas Jefferson, the care of human life and happiness, not their destruction, is the first and only legitimate objective of good government. So what she's saying, that's just not what conservatism means.
Well, yeah, and it doesn't make sense. It's a ploy to just try to make us look hypocritical.
It's a straw man.
Yeah, exactly. It's a straw man argument.
Yeah,
set up a weak argument.
And for those of our viewers that maybe aren't familiar with that terminology, what is a straw man, Kyle?
A straw man is where one side of the argument takes the other side and creates a very shaky position and then argues against that and tears that down. Right. It's misrepresenting the other side for the purpose of making them look weak.
So that would be like if you made a really strong argument to me and I'm trying to think, how am I going to respond to that? Instead of doing, logically the correct thing, which is to try to respond to your point, I kind of restate your position, but in a weaker version.
Exactly.
Or maybe something you've never even said, and then I go, boom, 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 I totally beat that argument.
Right.
And you're like,
that's not what I said. My argument still
stands. It's like they built a straw man. See? Strong, right?
Exactly.
It's a logical fallacy.
Logic 101 for the day.
And pro-lifers do it too. And so both pro-lifers and pro-choicers should be very careful. It's the golden rule. You don't want people to do that to you. Be very careful. This is why listening to people is so important.
Absolutely.
Make sure you understand what their argument is before responding, because you think you know what they mean, and then you get the wrong one. Clip 8.
On the other side of that, right? And that's why I say, as someone who's been on that Republican aisle, who considers herself to be conservative on some issues, not all.
Right.
But I do believe that the government shouldn't necessarily tell a woman what to do with her body. And I do believe that, like I said, that heart should be changed. I wouldn't want the government to say, you can only have 3 kids. You can only have 2 kids. Right. On the other side, or you must have 3 kids by the age of 30. And we're going to try to make that happen.
All the girls like they do in China.
Have the information.
Right.
I can agree with her, but that was the wrong approach to take to that straw man argument.
I think it's still a straw man.
It's a misanalogy.
Exactly.
Outlawing the killing of unborn children is not the same as the government saying you must have 3 kids, or you're not allowed to have, there's a limit on your children, like what they have in China. There's a huge difference between
because
the two.
The issue is different. The issue in one is murder, and the issue in the other is population control, or whatever the slant on that rule would be.
Right.
And obviously, we all agree, we must agree, because our courts uphold the fact that we believe that murder is wrong.
Right.
So that's
the question is, does the unborn apply? So it's basically a slippery slope argument, and pro-lifers make slippery slope arguments a lot.
Do.
We just need to be really careful when we make it, because sometimes I think it's a fair thing to say, gee, if we go down this road, then what is that going to mean in the future? They're just doing that. I just am disagreeing with basically the prediction here that if the government said it's wrong to kill your unborn child just like your newborn, that suddenly then in 10 more years the government's, or whatever, so you say 10 years, but I don't see any connection between that and then suddenly population control, family control, that kind of thing.